All right, Ethan Bock, welcome back. Third-time guest. Welcome back to Unreasonable Doubt, a podcast about West Virginia University basketball.
Josh, how's it going? Thank you for having me on again.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. And you write for you write for WV Sports Now. You write for the Portal Report, and dude, it is spinning fast in the portal. And the rule changes, right? Specific academic standards met. You can transfer and play immediately. No limit to how many places you could transfer to. Like Raekwon Battle knocked that door down. In my head, that means even more players are going to enter the portal. What are you seeing so far in this first portal window after the season of 2023-2024?
Yeah, I think this portal cycle is on steroids compared to like the first 3 or 4 off seasons of just I think coaches and players and fans getting acclimated to the portal and actually having that excitement after the season of who your team's going to get and who your team's going to lose in this glorified free agency that is the transfer portal. I think this year is just insane. There's been nearly 1,700 kids entering as of April 19th.
And we still got like a couple of weeks? Or is it in April 30th?
Yeah, it ends at the end of the month, so we have about 10, 11 days.
Good grief.
And then right now there's about 1,300 available, so kids are committing slowly. But I think it's not even the quantity of players entering the portal. It's just everything at once mixed. You have the new rule where, and this was going to happen. This was going to happen regardless. Just
right.
The rule of, multi-time transfers being allowed to play no waivers as long as they enter in that transfer window. You have that factor, and then the other factor is it's just. You still have like the COVID options. This is the last year of the COVID seniors, unless there's some weird circumstances with a couple guys going forward. You still have that aspect, and then I just think this was the year where you had a lot of coaching movement in the mid-major level, which a lot of those guys needed to make that jump, like Dusty Mays, Darren DeVries, even a Steve Lutz, Danny Sprinkle. Those guys making that jump to Power 5 hoops. I think that was a big deal too, because all their guys left. Same deal with coaches losing their jobs, Power 5. There's a lot going on, and it's all happening at once. It's hard for me to say that there's going to be more or less kids entering, like going forward, like in the future off seasons with the rule. It's hard to tell. Just you won't have the COVID options. Kids will only have 4 years again. It's just this year is just I can't even you can't cover this year at all. You just
right
there. It's impossible. There is no, and this is for a coach, fan, media. I think players are even swimming in high water this year. There's a lot of movement, and I think there's a lot of different circumstances of kids entering the portal this year, which is again another complicated aspect. And I think the kids are lost this year on where they're trying to land, especially the mid-major and low majors, for whatever reason. And I think the coaches are just overwhelmed and they're burnt out of this transfer portal every off season. So we're getting to that point as well. So this year is just, I would say the first few years of the portal were tolerable, but I think this year you can actually classify it as a shit show.
Well, and I didn't think about all of the coaching changes. It just seemed like it was more active than usual. And then, like you said, I haven't even thought about the COVID year. Once that trails off, then you've got maybe a better feel. But also, this is happening with the rules or lack of rules with NIL. Virginia passed. Did they pass law that you can't get in trouble for paying players from the university at a university level? I know it's a very state specific thing, But like that's happening at the same time, and you're talking about all of the 1,700 entered the transfer portal. Of those 1,700, Ethan, what percentage of guys are entering with, and everybody's got their reasons for going to a different school.
Mm-hmm.
In their top 3 answers, one of them being a better NIL deal, what percentage of guys have that in their top 3 reasons for moving on?
I think for the men's side, I would say it's looking at every single level of the men's side. I would confidently say you have about 50 to 60% of kids.
I thought it'd be low just because of you've got 360 some teams, and it can't be that much difference. But 50 to 60%, that's more than what I had in my head.
And I think NIL is one of those things. Like kids are obviously still looking for right fit, right culture, but NIL, especially Power 5, Big East, high mid major, even like A10 basketball. It's prevalent now. Like this year you have role players asking for 6 figures. That's where we're at.
In the Atlantic 10?
In any conference.
Wow.
Like in any conference in the high mid major, you have role players asking for money. That's not all circumstances, but that's
them asking. More I guess the other part of it would be how many are going to get that. And I don't want to ask you to. Okay. Yeah. So that makes sense. Yeah, that's a good kind of asterisk. They're asking, not necessarily mean they're going to get it. But it's wild, man. And you have a tough job in a normal year. This is a crazy year. So speaking of crazy, let's talk about WVU. We're less crazy now. I mean, the last 11 months has been, there might even be a book there. It is a book. Like, it's just a lot going on. We're 3 weeks out from Darian DeVries' introductory press conference. Ethan, what have you learned about Coach DeVries 3 weeks into the job here at WVU?
I think what I've learned is his personality is he's a quiet guy. I don't think he's not like we talked about it before the show. I don't think Darian DeVries is like a Pat Kelsey. He's not going to film himself pacing in the Louisville parking facility lot talking about getting everybody fired up. That's not who he is. And that's fine. He should be himself. He's also going to move. I think this is another reason why the fan base expected immediate results. Is he's not going to move at a fast pace like we've seen some teams do, where they almost, like Kansas is almost done already. With
right.
You're not going to see that with DeVries. I've seen Drake fans talk about, this is what happens almost every offseason. You get to the point where you start to worry, and then they figure it out. They win some games. Everything's okay. So I'm expecting, especially right now, even with only having 4 scholarship players set for next year, I think we're going to see a slow pace to where we're going into late May, early June, and then they're still recruiting, which is fine because even when the portal window ends on May 1st, there's still going to be kids in there getting lost. And then you'll also still have the grad transfer wave in the summer. So they're going to find guys. Believe me, there's 1,300 players, and we still have 10 days for kids to enter. So they'll be okay. They'll get guys.
And they'll get guys because you need a staff. And it's just been him and the guy he brought with him from Drake this week. Lots of announcements about guys from a staff standpoint. You've got Coach Frazier and Coach Corey Barnett. I looked at Frazier's timeline. It's like what you would think as a Uber recruiter. Like his timeline is just about being at these AAU things and at high schools, which I'm very excited to see. I just haven't seen that a lot in the program in the last few years, as far as that being out on the internet. What can you tell me initial impressions about Coach Frazier and Coach Barnett?
Yeah, I think the thing I was slightly worried at one point was probably last week at some point was the lack of staff. And I think
Right.
everybody's in the same boat. I wasn't worried about players; they were going to get players, but staff is a whole different animal when his guys were at Drake were getting different jobs. One assistant went to Vanderbilt with Mark Byington. Another assistant got USC Upstate head coach job. Like they didn't immediately follow him, which raises the question if they wanted to even come to West Virginia. But DeVries was able to just position himself to rebound, and I think for rebounding after not getting his own guys from Drake, other than Nick Norton, I think he was able to rebound well, especially with getting Frazier and Barnett, who have Power 5 experience. I think that's the biggest key here, was getting Power 5 experience. Because DeVries had his run at Creighton, and he was there forever. But other than that, they didn't have any high major experience on the staff. So now you add in Frazier and Barnett, who've worked with Brad Underwood and Steve Alford for years, and Bruce Weber with Frazier as well. So the staff that they're building has experience, and that was the key. And now they have the thing with the staff is they have almost every region of the country that they recruit. Frazier's connected with the DMV area, being from Baltimore. Barnett is out West Coast, being at Nevada and UCLA for the last decade. And then just DeVries and Norton with the Midwest Drake connection. So they're hitting all the regions, but I think they need another guy in this area that understands West Virginia a little bit. I think that is important. So if they can get another guy, either in the DMV, New York, New Jersey guy, or just a West Virginia guy, if you get somebody within this area, another guy, that's a really solid staff.
And do you have any guesses, Ethan, on who may be the fourth and possibly fifth assistant coaches?
I have no guess. I'm completely. I have no idea what direction they're going to lean towards. I don't know if they go and get another guy like Barnett or Frazier. It's been an assistant at either a high major or a mid major with a respectable coach for years, or if they turn to another connection that DeVries has. I think for sure they get one more guy. Like,
right,
they can have up to 5 assistants. I think for sure they get one more. And if they have room and if they have the budget to do it, they can go and get a 5th assistant. It wouldn't be the end of the world to do that.
Right. And he's got time to do that, but it sounds like the core is coming in. And it's funny, as loud as this program has been, good and bad, the last 11 months, it's wild to kind of flip to the other level to just eerily quiet. But I think the news is going to start coming. And speaking of news, guys that are leaving the program, and you work for the Portal Report, in your experience, outside of following a head coach that's taken a new job, have you ever seen teammates enter the transfer portal and go to the same school like we've seen with Seth and JoJo going to Akron?
I've seen it happen, but it is rare. But I think the thing I've never seen before is like a James Okongwu who played 2 years ago.
That's another, right.
Seasons ago.
Forgot about James, yeah.
You have Akron. I am fascinated by Akron basketball at this point because you have Seth and Josiah from this past team. You have James, who played at West Virginia 2 seasons ago. You have Sharon Young from Morgantown High School that's joining the team. Michael Dawson from Huntington Prep. He's also at Akron. So you have a lot of West Virginia guys on that team, and it would not shock me at all if they ended up getting a Kobe Johnson.
Obviously, your mind goes there that's the other Ohio guy that they could absolutely do that. But how many can they have? Like, in Akron, can they have like 17 D1 scholarships? Do they have even room for Kobe?
I think they can make room for Kobe. for a Big 12 starter. I think they'll be all right with that. But it would be. I think Kobe could play at the Power 5 level, obviously. But I think having that Akron, Canton, Ohio connection, and then all like Seth and him are friends. So having that connection as well, and you have James and Josiah, and just all these connections on that team. It seems like a perfect fit for him if he wanted to go to the mid-major level.
But it's bizarre that they always like, this is the place. And I know there's a Huntington Prep connection there, but Akron, West Virginia North, and of course the Bob Huggins connection, crazy. So rapid fire to finish the interview, over and under, rapid fire. Over or under 1.5 players on this season's roster that that played for WVU last season. 1.5 is the number. Are we going over or under?
I'm going to go under.
Interesting. And who do you think? I mean, because really, it's Noah and Offrey at this point, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Who do you think is going to be the sole survivor?
I think Offrey's going to. I think Offrey's going to stay. I know I saw somewhere that Tony Caridi mentioned this on his show. But I've heard over the last week stuff about Noah. Maybe he ends up staying, and I misheard, but all signs are pointing to Noah leaving as well.
Okay. Oh, and we cannot be shocked by a complete roster overhaul after this season, regardless of who came in. So nothing to panic there. That's what it is. So under 1.5 for that. Over under 1.5 number of former Drake players that end up on this year's Mountaineer roster.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Because we got one, right?
Yeah.
We got the coach's son. 1.5 is the number.
I'm going to safely say over, and I'm not even confident saying over on that because there's only one other guy that can get from Drake. I guess if you don't, you're not counting KJ Tenner, but
I'm not.
Yeah, guys that played at Drake last year.
It's right? Like that's who it could be.
Yep, and it's interesting to me that he visited last weekend, but he didn't have any other visits scheduled at the time. I don't know if he has a school in place this weekend or if he's trying to schedule for next weekend. And that's kind of where I'm leaning towards, is he's trying to visit other schools. And I've seen SEC interest. I've seen, I guess now Big Ten interest with a couple of those Pac-12 schools going over. So,
right.
I've seen Power 5 interest for Aiden Wright, but it is weird to me that he didn't commit right away. But I understand, wanting to go and visit other schools. But I mean, right now, like if he's not going to visit any other school, I'm going to set it at over, but I'm not confident with that.
Okay. And we're more into hypothetical waters. Over, under 1.5 number of former Illinois players on this season's WVU roster.
I think I'm more confident on this one. This will be over.
Really? Chester Frazier comes through.
Yeah, I think his connections with Harris and Monty Hansberry, they seem. I mean, it wasn't a coincidence those two entered the portal. I mean, as soon as Chester Frazier finalizes this deal at WVU,
right?
It was too obvious. Now, yeah, they still reopen their recruitments. I'm sure they're hearing from other schools. So, but I think just the timing of it'd be totally different if Harris and Hansberry entered the portal weeks ago, even before Frazier was hired. It'd be totally different. But the fact that they entered this week and entered this time, like it's too obvious. So, they're both visiting this weekend. We'll see how that goes. I think it's safe to say that that'll be an over.
All right. And then over under, let's go 0.5 number of Nevada Wolfpack players that end up on WVU's roster this season.
I'm gonna say under, because I think Steve Alford's got. I mean, he's got a lot of momentum there right now, and I think what they've been able to kind of bounce back from us leaving for Arkansas a few years ago, and now with what Alford's doing there, I think they can just keep getting back to the tournament. And the Mountain West clearly is getting favored in the tournament committee stuff. So each year with just the amount of bids they're given. So
right,
I think he's got a lot of momentum there. I don't think they're going to have a whole off-season turnover of players leaving. So I think for now, I'm safely saying under on Nevada players.
All right, couple more. Over under 12.5. Over under number of scholarship players committed to WVU by the end of May. So May 31st, over or under 12.5 scholarship players?
Under. Under. And I say this, they're moving at a snail pace. This is not quick at all. They have 4 scholarship players. It's April 19th. They had, surprisingly, another wave of departures within the last week. So, or I say surprisingly, but it's not that surprising that there's going to be turnover with the whole roster. But
right,
I expected these guys to leave a month ago. Honestly, I didn't expect them to stay around this long. So that's what's surprising. But just I think the pace they're moving at, and just what DeVries' off-season strategy with the staff seems like usually. I think I think that's going to be an under. I think they get 13 scholarship players for sure. I just don't. By May 31st, with the pace they're moving at, and how many kids are actually getting to commit when they visit, the success rate with one weekend of having weekend visits, I'm going to say under.
Okay, but we're going to have 13.
Yes.
They're bringing guys in June, July. Of course, we did that last year to various degrees of success. Totally different situation there. Final over under 0.5. Number of foreign exhibition trips the WVU basketball team will make this summer.
I think over. And I could see why they could push it back again this year. I'm gonna say they do it, because they gotta, especially if they actually get their whole team done by June and get everybody settled in. It was totally different last year when they were recruiting in August, heading into football season. So
right.
I see why Josh Eilert pushed back the trip, but I think it's important, especially this first year for Darren DeVries. I can't emphasize it enough, especially with what has happened with this program for the last calendar year, with everything that happened with Hugs, and it didn't work out with Josh Eilert. Just any of the waivers, injuries, suspensions, you name it. You can name anything. It's probably happened in West Virginia.
You're not even halfway down the list, right?
Yeah. Or we're not even touching ground. So I think with everything that's happened in the last calendar year, this is a very crucial season for the program, because Darren DeVries needs to build momentum year one. He will lose his fan base pretty quickly, and it's not his fault. That's what sucks. It's not his fault. If he has, if there's another down year one, and it doesn't seem like there's any momentum building within the program, this fan base, I think, is going to eventually lose it and just get impatient, especially just with what has happened. They've been through hell and back. So I think it's very crucial for this team to build that culture early, like they've been talking about, like pretty much going that Neil Brown football culture route, even if it takes a few years, which we'll see. But they do need to go on that foreign trip. I think that's a really important bonding experience. And if they can, if that trip makes a difference of team chemistry and Darian DeVries setting that culture, then go on that trip. That's a good start to building that short-term and long-term culture.
I agree. He's got to pick up the pace. If they gotta, it's just like any kind of travel plans. You got to have who's going. So get on. I agree, and that means get on the ball and let's get a full roster and go to Europe or wherever. Would they go back to Italy, Ethan, or would they do something different? Do they have like a credit from last year that they can use for? All right, we would just want to re-up what we wanted to do last year. I don't know how this works.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the plan's still Italy. I guess that's also up to the staff if they want to go somewhere else. But I think the plan's still Italy at this point. Same trip as last year. Just or
they have a voucher. Yeah, they got a redeemable voucher.
Yeah.
All right, Ethan. Good luck maneuvering through the portal. You find Ethan on Twitter or X. Find his work at WV Sports Now. Find it at the Portal Report. Ethan, thank you for coming back on Unreasonable Doubt, a podcast about West Virginia University basketball.
Thank you, Josh. I really appreciate that.